In 2014, a 30-year-old woman looked out at a crowded auditorium in San Francisco. Wearing a black turtleneck, she promised a revolution in medicine. With just one drop of blood, hundreds of diseases could be detected. From diabetes to cancer, the world gave her a standing ovation. Investors poured $700 million into the company. But there was one problem. The technology never worked. And what she was really selling wasn't innovation, it was a lie that put lives at risk. How did one person deceive the most powerful men in Silicon Valley for over a decade? You will understand why the collapse of Theranos wasn't just the biggest corporate scandal of the century. It was a window into the mind of a person willing to sacrifice everything for her own illusion. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you the exact moment Elizabeth Holmes crossed the line between ambition and fraud, the patients who received false diagnoses and nearly died, and the letter that should never have been ignored. But was. But before we understand the end, we need to go back to the beginning. Elizabeth Holmes was 19 years old when she dropped out of Stanford. She used her tuition money to found Theranos in 2003. Her promise was simple, painless, fast, and cheap blood tests. A revolution. She studied Steve Jobs, copied the black turtleneck, practiced a deeper voice to sound more serious. And it worked. In meetings, investors didn't see a teenager, they saw the next genius of Silicon Valley. But what no one asked was, where were the scientific results? Because from the start, there was nothing but promises. The heart of Theranos was the Edison, a machine that was supposed to run over 240 tests with a single drop of blood. But lab employees noticed something terrible, the results were wrong. False glucose levels, cancer diagnoses in healthy people, HIV positive in those who didn't have the disease. And if anyone raised the issue, they were immediately fired. Sunny Balwani, Holmes' boyfriend and the company's COO, yelled at anyone who dared to question. He had no scientific background, but he had total control over the lab. Meanwhile, Holmes kept selling the lie. And the world bought it. Why? Because she wasn't selling technology. She was selling hope. In 2013, Walgreens partnered with Theranos. 40 stores in Arizona installed testing centers. In 2014, Forbes put Holmes on its cover. She was called the youngest self-made female billionaire in the U.S. Personal fortune, $4.5 billion. Investors included Larry Ellison, Rupert Murdoch, the DeVos family. Politicians like Henry Kissinger and George Shultz sat on the board. The company was valued at $9 billion. But the technology? It still didn't work. And here's the darkest secret, Holmes knew. She knew the tests were being run on traditional machines bought from other companies. She knew the results were manipulated. But she kept promising. She kept lying. Because stopping would mean admitting that everything was a fraud from the start. In 2015, two young employees noticed something. Erica Cheung and Tyler Schultz, George Schultz's grandson, saw data being altered. They tried to warn people. Tyler went to his own grandfather. But no one believed them. Theranos hired lawyers to threaten them. Private investigators followed them. The company spent millions to silence those who knew the truth. But a Wall Street Journal reporter, John Carreyrou, didn't give up. And in October 2015, he published a devastating report. Theranos was using traditional technology for most tests. And the results were completely unreliable. That same night, Holmes went on Mad Money on TV. Smiling, she said, "This is what happens when you work to change things. First they think you're crazy. Then they fight you. And then you change the world." But she wasn't changing the world. She was destroying lives. In 2016, everything collapsed. Forbes revised Holmes' fortune from $4.5 billion to zero. Walgreens ended the partnership. The FDA banned the company from operating for 2 years. Patients who had received false diagnoses sued the company. Some nearly died from unnecessary treatments. Others ignored real diseases because the tests said they were healthy. And Holmes? She tried to save the company. She launched a new machine called the Mini Lab. But no one trusted her anymore. In March 2018, the SEC charged Holmes and Balwani with massive fraud, over $700 million stolen from investors. Theranos closed its doors in September 2018. 15 years of lies. Crumbled in 3 years. In 2022, Elizabeth Holmes went to trial. The charge, 11 counts of fraud. She claimed to be a victim of abuse by Balwani. She said he controlled her life, her decisions. But prosecutors showed emails, phone calls, evidence that she knew exactly what she was doing. The jury found her guilty on 4 counts. Sentence, 11 years and 3 months in prison. In May 2023, she entered federal prison. And Bhawani? Sentenced to 13 years. He began serving his sentence in March 2023. But the question no one asks is, how did she manage to fool so many people for so long? Because Holmes wasn't just a con artist. She was convincing, charismatic, determined. She believed her own lie. And that is the most terrifying thing. Because when you believe the lie, you don't see the victims. You only see the bright future you promise yourself. And in the process, patients got sick. Investors lost fortunes. Employees were emotionally destroyed. All because a 19-year-old decided that the ends justified the means. Today, the Theranos story is a warning. About ambition without ethics. About the danger of blindly believing in impossible promises. But it's also about something deeper, what happens when we mistake confidence for competence. Because Elizabeth Holmes wasn't a genius. She was a performer. And the world applauded. Until the stage collapsed. So I ask you, how many other revolutions are happening right now? Built on lies that we haven't discovered yet? And when the truth comes out, how many lives will have already been destroyed? But has Silicon Valley learned its lesson? Or are new Theranos being built at this very moment? With billions of dollars from investors who blindly believe in impossible promises? And that changes everything you think about the future of technology.